All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. September 17th, 2025, public information meeting at 7 p.m. So roll call, Councilor Spoulos. Councilor Bailey.
Here.
Councilor Hurst. Present. Councilor Goya. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests? No, seeing none. All right. Purpose of this public meeting is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or to express views with respect to the proposed user fees and charges bylaw. Councilors are here to observe and listen to your comments. However, they will not make any decisions this evening. Township requests that you notify by email Mary Hassan at mhassan@puslinch.ca or by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 222. You wish to be on record regarding this matter. Please note the meeting is video and audio recorded and all meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By attending this meeting in person or by registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. The format of this public meeting is as follows. Township staff will present the purpose and details of the public meeting and any further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, questions, and express their views on the proposal. Members of the public are permitted 10 minutes each to ask questions and express their views. This time limit is imposed to provide each member of the public an opportunity to speak. Council will then have an opportunity to ask any clarification questions. Staff will attempt to answer questions or respond to concerns this evening. If this is not possible, staff will follow up and obtain this information. Responses will be provided when this matter is brought forward and evaluated by council at a later date. I invite Ms. Hassan to begin her presentation.
Hey, good evening. Thank you very much, Ms. Heater. I'll just go through the slide deck. Tonight, if you just go to the next slide, thanks. Tonight, we will discuss where do township revenues come from? Why do we collect user fees? What changes are being proposed for 2026? We also did a benchmarking analysis similar to previous years. We've had some engagement opportunities occur to date with some upcoming opportunities as well. The purpose is to also get feedback from staff and council to consider before finalizing the user fees and charges bylaw. We'll hold questions until the end of the presentation. The next slide just discusses where township revenues come from. As you can see there, property taxes are the main source, with user fees, licenses, and fines being the second source. We do charge for services such as recreation, planning, and building permits, and that's where the user fees and charges bylaw comes into play. And user fees, of course, are an important input into our operating budget, and they help align our costs to our users. The next slide just discusses the user fees process and that it's a very important input into our operating budget. So we've actually commenced budget development, and typically that occurs from September to November. And then our public information meeting for user fees and charges is today. We have released an Engage Puslinch survey that was actually released in late August, and it will be open until September 24th at 12 p.m. Another component of the budget process is our October 2025, where we present our first draft of the capital budget to council. In November 2025, we present our first draft of our operating budget to council. Then we have a separate survey which adds to our user fees and charges survey just related to the budget process, and that usually occurs from December to January. Our second draft of our capital and operating budget is presented to council in January of 2026. We have a public information meeting in January of 2026 pertaining to budget. And then typically our budgets pass in February of the following year, so February 2026. So again, user fees is one component of the budget process. And as you can see on the slide, it is a very reiterative process that starts as early as August through our user fees engagement. The next slide just discusses why the township collects user fees. Of course, the primary reason is to allocate the cost for those specific services to the users of those services. Most services are not full cost recovery. The share of the recovery depends on the fair market costs and the service levels that are set by council. There are some departments that are legislatively mandated to be fully funded from the fees in those departments, and so that's specifically the building department through the Building Code Act, and the Planning Act also stipulates that planning application fees are designed to meet only the anticipated cost to a municipality. The next slide just discusses what changes are being proposed for 2026. Again, similar to previous years, the changes that have been proposed are to closely reflect the actual cost for providing the service, and we also do a benchmarking analysis and compare the township's fees with those of comparator and boundary municipalities. We also adjust our fees based on the Consumer Price Index for Ontario, and that's a typical process that we follow also through the budget process. It's typically from May 2024 to May 2025, and that amounted to 1.7% this year. So the next few slides will actually discuss what the proposed changes are to the fees by department. Of course, we're excluding any fees that have been automatically increased by the CPI inflation rate of 1.7%. So in 2023, Council directed staff to select approximately 10 high-frequency user fees and perform a benchmarking analysis to demonstrate that our fees are comparable to similar municipalities. And so we chose 10 high-frequency user fees from each department in the proposed user fees and charges bylaw. And we compared these fees to our comparator and boundary municipalities, which include Cambridge, Central Wellington, Erin, Guelph, Guelph-Aramasa, Hamilton, Mapleton, Milton, Minto, and Wellington North. The next slide just discusses what that analysis entailed and what fees we looked at from each of our departments. It shows what the 2025 rate is, so what's the current rate? What would be the 2026 rate with the CPI increase of 1.7%? What's the 2026 rate that we're proposing based on the benchmarking analysis that we completed? What was the average and what was the median? The next few slides just discuss some of the implications of that benchmarking analysis. So in the previous slide, there were fees where the average or median benchmarking fee is lower than the township fee, but in these specific examples, a decrease wasn't recommended because the township's immediate neighbors were in line with or higher than the township fee. I believe one of those fees related to the sewage system's new installation fee. Also, some of the fees have been recommended that they just increase by CPI, even though the average or the median was higher, and that's because sometimes it's difficult to compare these fees on an apples to apples comparison just based on what some of the other municipalities offer. The open air burning permit inspection and the septic compliance letter, we've recommended that those fees be raised to our comparator and boundary average, of course, for cost recovery while staying aligned. And then for some of our facilities fees, like our soccer fields, arena floor, hall non-prime, we noted that the township's fee was lower than the comparator and boundary municipalities, and so we recommended that those fees be increased to the average fee. The report to council that's included on engagepluslynch.ca actually provides further details on each of these fees, and department heads are here as well if anyone has any questions about these fees at the end of the presentation. The next slide just discusses what's recommended in fire and rescue services. So it's the slide after this. Thank you. So our MTO highway response rate, a lot of our fees in fire and rescue services relate to our based on the MTO highway response rate, and that increases each year based on consumer price index, and so that's being recommended to be increased. We also have a new auxiliary vehicle rate based on what the MTO has proposed, which is 50% of the higher rate. We have a truck in our department that qualifies for this rate. It's our Pumper 32. And so these changes have been incorporated in the fire and rescue services appendices of the proposed user fees and charges bylaw. Next slide just discusses the building department. Fees are recommended to be increased by CPI to support cost recovery and compliance with the Building Code Act. Of course, the building surplus reserve is used to smooth revenue volatility. There are years where there's deficits and surpluses, and the building surplus reserve is used to fund those deficits or surpluses. We do expect some growth from employment and residential land study to aid in our revenues in the building department. The next slide just discusses the planning and development department. And so we are recommending the application reactivation fee be changed to an administration fee. So it's already a fee that's there. It was previously a flat fee, but it's recommended that it be an administration fee with third-party cost recovery. We're recommending that our consultations, so that includes preliminary planning consultations and comprehensive development consultations, that those fees also be changed for any subsequent submissions. So the regular fee is a flat fee, but if there are subsequent submissions, we're recommending that there be a $100 administration fee with third-party cost recovery. And as you may know, the preliminary planning consultation and the comprehensive development consultations, those fees are credited towards subsequent related planning applications, but it's not recommended that the $100 administration fee be credited just because it is an additional cost associated with subsequent submissions. The preliminary planning consultation, we're recommending that that flat fee be increased to $500 and that the fee be credited to any subsequent comprehensive development consultation that's received. For our zoning bylaw amendment aggregate, we've just added some explanatory notes within the planning and development fee schedule, clarifying when the fee applies. In the next slide, this just discusses what we're proposing for our bylaw fee schedule, and we're just recommending that there be a refund of site alteration permit and application fees based on the amount of work that's been done for an application and when the refund has been requested. And this refund structure is very similar to what we're what's been in place for many years in planning and our building departments. The next slide just discusses some new fees in our parks cost center related to the commemorative bench program and commemorative native tree program. These were both of these fees were approved as part of the donation policy that was approved by council this year. And so this is just formalizing these fees in the user fees and charges bylaw. So the next slide discusses reduced rates and what some recommendations from our advisory committee and staff based on a very detailed analysis that was conducted in 2025. Basically, what was noted was that comparators generally do not offer senior-specific reduced rates, and most other organizations only offer reduced rates ranging from 30 to 50%, and that's only where they're offered. There are some municipalities that don't offer reduced rates based on the analysis and findings that were undertaken. Council did request community feedback, and they also requested a labor cost analysis for facility rentals. In accordance with the legislation, staffing that's required to be scheduled for a minimum of 3 hours. And so it was recommended that our user fees and charges reduced rates be reduced and this reduction be phased in over a 2-year period. Just so that the township is in line with our comparator and boundary municipalities. and to ensure that we are meeting our cost obligations for these rentals. There's very detailed information in the report just regarding some of the costs associated with renting a facility. And so these additional wages and benefit costs range from $63 to $190. And so it's really important that we update some of our costs in our facility rentals to reflect these costs that the township pays. In addition to the capital costs associated with running all of our facilities and parks. So the next slide just discusses how this is going to be phased in, or how this is proposed to be phased in over a period of time. Some of the rates are continuing to be the same as previous years. So the 90% reduced rate will only apply to seniors community events. And of course, they need to meet the eligibility criteria, and the user fees and charges bylaw that's on Engage Plus Lunch and that's been presented to council includes what that eligibility criteria is. The eligibility criteria hasn't changed. It has been in place for many years now. And so I won't go through that in much detail, but the second item is that the 90% reduced rate will continue to be applied to Whistle Stop Cooperative Preschool and Guelph Community Health Center, the playgroup. Item number 3 is that seniors recreation programs that meet the eligibility criteria shall receive a 70% reduced rate in 2026 and a 50% reduced rate in 2027 and onwards. And so that's where you're seeing the phase-in of the reduced rate reductions over a 2-year period that are being proposed. A 75% reduced rate shall apply to organizations that host community events and meet the eligibility criteria. And all other organizations that meet the eligibility criteria shall receive a 62.5% reduced rate in 2026 and a 50% reduced rate in 2027 and onwards. Ms. Heater and I believe Ms. Brotherston are available in case there are specific questions regarding these recommendations at the end of the presentation. This slide just discusses the reduced rate eligibility criteria, which hasn't changed, as well as the requirement to report on your number of residents and non-resident participants and financial reports for membership fees and/or donations collected for the programming and services, including how the funds are used to support the program and service. And that hasn't changed from previous years, that those requirements are still in place. The next slide discusses some of the engagement that has occurred for our user fees and charges bylaw. Similar to previous years, we have incorporated a number of engagement opportunities, and those have been outlined on this slide. Just to reiterate, the Engage Plus Lunch survey is open until September 24th at 12 p.m. And so we do appreciate any further feedback that we do receive in order to report back on this to council through the final bylaw approval, the user fees and charges bylaw approval. Okay, and so I'd welcome any questions, and all of our department heads and senior leadership team are also here in case there are specific questions related to a specific department.
Thank you, Mrs. Sam. I'll go to the gallery first. Ladies first. Margaret, do you have any questions or?
Oh, Cam can go first, so.
All right, Cam.
Thank you, Mayor Seeley. So I guess the first question is, a few slides back there, it talked about all other organizations that meet the eligibility criteria shall receive a 62.5 reduced rate in 2026 and a 50% reduced rate in 2027 and onwards. That would be Puss Lunch Minor Ball, I'm assuming. Am I correct in that assumption? Would fall into that category?
She's going to.
Oh, sorry, you know who I was asking. Right. So I apologize. I hope I know how to do this. I have a little statement and then a question on this. Is that okay? So the last 2 years, Puss Lunch Minor Ball has donated $3,000 a year. So $6,000 over the past 2 years we have donated. So I guess my looking on this, on my financial background with what I do, I guess we do a budget every year. And whatever we have left over, we kind of make an assumption of how much we want to give back to the township. So I'm looking at things, and we've been talking a little bit about this, by increasing our fees, you're not gonna be making any more money off Postage Minor Ball, that makes sense. Because we'll just adjust it for what we pay at the end of the year type of thing overall. So it doesn't really affect us on that side. But our concern is, if this is gonna keep continuing and everything else, then we might have to raise our rates for Postage Minor Ball. And I'm not ignorant to understand that. But I guess my logic on things is, why are we not, this is my question I'm posing, why are we not just doing a simple 3% increase rate to keep up with inflation every year? Why is this such a drastic jump for what our reduction rates have been? And I guess that's the question that everybody in the ball community wants to know right now is, why is this such a dramatic jump compared to just phasing things in on a 3% inflation increase on a yearly basis? I know you talked about doing was 1.7% consumer price indexing. And inflation's usually around 2 to 3%. I guess that's my question right now for everything is, why can we not just be increasing this on a yearly basis?
So I can speak to the inflation rate. So the township, just based on the timing of our budget process, we do use the May to May inflation rate, and that was noted as 1.7%. We use that for our fees and charges by law. We use it for different aspects of our budget process as well. So that's why that rate was used. It does change every year just based on what the May to May rate is, and we just use that rate for consistency purposes. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
I can help. So you're mixing two different.
Yeah, there's two different things there, I get it.
So every year we do the inflation by the consumer price index. So whether that's 1.7 this year, in the COVID years, there's 8.
Yeah.
Whether we went 8 or not, my memory doesn't serve me, but the other component of the phasing is in the report. It states that we're looking at comparable municipalities on the discounts they provide, and they used I forget the number.
I saw the section. Yeah.
So that phasing of your reduction is to bring it more in line with what other communities are charging. So that's why you're seeing it go down to, so basically they're getting to the 50% reduction over 2 years.
Okay.
If we wouldn't ever meet our reduction if we just did the 3% inflation, because we would have to do it 6, because we'd have to cover the inflation plus the 3%.
The compound interest.
So I don't know if you're asking that, why are we, the reduction down to 50% isn't graduated over more years?
Yep.
That's the question? That's the question. Or, so
it's, I guess it's more on the aspect, it is a significant jump, and I get where you guys are coming from. Some of the questions that we've gotten from the ball community is, why are we comparing apples to bananas? Meaning, why are we as a rural community comparing to Guelph, to Cambridge, to Hamilton? That's the questions that we're getting at as a ball community. Can we get an answer on that?
well, I'll chime in there.
Sure.
As well. You and I both play in that Orthodox League.
Yep.
And the individuals or the places I'm gonna quote here wouldn't consider themselves part of Hamilton, but they are.
Yep.
You got the Rocktons, the Linden, the Greensville. So using Hamilton as a comparator, I think is quite appropriate because they have a very large component, rural component. Second to that, we encounter this all the time. We don't have like comparators. We did a pay equity study there, and to find apples to apples will never happen.
Yep. Ever.
Now you can find some outlying municipality. One was down Windsor that was close because of close proximity to an urban center, and consultants do a great job of trying to find like communities, but it is very difficult. So somebody has to, when they're tasked from council, find 10 or 8, 5 neighboring municipalities, somebody has to make a decision. So that's what they land with. So.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can also add, that we also look at our member municipalities as well. So we look at Wellington North, Minto, Mapleton, Guelph, Hermosa, Huron, Central Wellington, where we also have some, similarities to our municipalities. So we aren't only looking at cities, we're looking at.
And can I ask you on that side, how did we compare in those scenarios?
So, like directly on, the discount rates?
Yes.
Sure, so, Center Wellington, for sports fields only offers a 30% discount. Guelph Massa has no discounts. Mapleton, it seems to be based on a participant per year, and they're about $15.50. For ice rentals, it's 17. Minto, there's an annual fee or participant, and Wellington North, it's 20 to 40%.
Okay. And last one, so I stop manipulating everybody's time here, but your question is, has there been any look at the aspect of giving the discount to people in the township, and then if you have players coming in from, say, Guelph, Cambridge, which we do have a lot of overlapping of that in soccer and in Coast Minor Ball, charging them a higher user fee? I know it was something that we used to do. Is that something that has been discussed as well? And if so, is there any pros or cons to this side of things?
So I can answer that question for you. It was actually a second part of the analysis that our rec committee did, but it's not within organizations. That will be up to those organizations who are running that programming to determine their pricing themselves. If Coast Minor Baseball would prefer to have a surcharge for non-resident members who are coming to participate in their programming, that would be up to those organizations to determine that. It was a recommendation from the Recreation Committee to council that a surcharge be added to all of our facility rentals for non-residents.
And I think that's kind of in the discussions that we've had. So I was afraid that was the answer you're gonna give me. So we've already had some of these discussions. The problem is when you put it back on our organizations, the first thing that's gonna come back on us from these parents is, well, why are you guys charging this? The township is not requesting this. See, if we have it coming from you guys, then it does give us a little bit more protection on the fact of, yes, this is where it is. And the other thing is, my logic on this is we now have teams encroaching on us for the ball diamonds especially that are not from our area. We have the U13, or sorry, U19, U23 women. We have some other teams that are using our facilities here that are not from Bush Lynch. So that's where we're feeling a little bit more jeopardized on that side of things is, hey, let's raise the prices on those ones, because as you're saying before, they're a lot more expensive in these other areas. So guess what they're trying to do now? They're coming here and going, hey, this is a lot cheaper. We can rent from Puss Lynch. I would, in my opinion, I would rather see you raise the prices on those people that are coming and using our facilities and not charging the people who are paying taxes into this community for that side of things. That's kind of what we've been talking about. That's a lot of the conversations that we've had in the community on these things.
I think, I don't believe it was in place when I had my first term, but the process of having a dual fee administered by the township was very difficult to administer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna ask Cam, talk, how many kids do you have from Guelph? How many, and, you know, did it go from 20 down to 5? Did it just was too much? It was too much. So it's, you know, that's why the answer is if you wanted to do that. The reality is for both minor ball and soccer, and what else do we have here? We are well subsidized by Guelph Kids. We didn't have the Guelph Kids, we wouldn't have a program.
Yep.
So to penalize them, you know, extra money, I wouldn't do that from a council perspective, personally. So,
But then it's on us.
yes,
Yeah.
or you absorb the costs across everyone.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess it just goes back to the same thing, but then you have these other teams that are completely outside of.
I think what part of our concern at council is, we have to treat everybody.
Mhm.
And we have rentals that we incur a lot of costs for.
Yeah.
And then that then translate to subsidy from the taxpayer. So we're trying to find a balance of providing a discount to groups, to, you know, not having all the other taxpayers subsidize another group because they get a significant discount. So we're trying to find that balance. And that's what you're seeing with these reductions to 50% to whatever the numbers are.
For us, I guess.
Sorry. Can I go to Margaret or you got another one?
Well, I thought that was the whole premise of why this all started was Placentia versus non-Placentia. Placentia taxpayers versus non-taxpayers. This has been an ongoing thing for years. It doesn't matter, I guess, where you live. I think my big thing, and I'm just looking from a pickleball perspective, which we do also have some Guelph, some Cambridge, but it is majority Placentia. 20%, that's a big chunk. And then you say then another 20%, another big chunk. And then it's like reduced rate in 2027. Will that be another 20% chunk? Like that just seems, if I look at that, going down there,
It gives the final percentage that they're getting to, and I can't recall if it was 60 or 50.
It's going to 50.
50. So you're receiving at
so
90.
50% would be, at that point in time, would be, well, I guess,
So what,
depends on who's in and depends on what's going on, shaking.
what's the rental rate for pickleball at a 90% discount rate?
We used for $4.20.
So a 50% increase to $4 is. And what will that go to? $9, $10? Not sure. Okay.
Justine has the numbers. Do you have the,
Through year at the 75%, and I can't recall, Sarah, at what point it phases in. At 75%, it goes up to $10.50, and at 50%, it's $21.
So it goes up
So tell,
substantially.
sorry, I don't know any of that because I just pay my check. So I have no idea what we pay.
That's per hour per court.
through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. So Justine can say the numbers again, but at this time with the 90% discount, it's under $5 an hour
For the rentals,
for the rentals.
and we just rent those courts so that we have them, everyone else can come on free, I'm guessing,
Correct, but I believe that
correct?
the cost that you're providing is the gymnasium.
Yes, that's what you mean.
That's the
And,
gymnasium.
okay, and so what about pickleball
The
outside?
tennis courts are a little
The-
bit less.
So for 90% reduced rate for the tennis courts, it's $2.27 at 90%, at 75%, it's $5.71. And then at 50%, it's $11.45.
For a rental per hour?
For a red rent.
So,
Fees just went up, that's all I know, so,
no, it's fine. That's the.
because we're anticipating, right? I know that Cambridge does offer some of their programs for free, because I can go and play. I just did a tournament in Cambridge. And that whole room of pickleball was free. So there are, I don't know why it wasn't even listed on our,
Comparators.
yeah, where we were
Like I said.
comparing, right?
Somebody has to make a decision.
No, and I
You know,
agree,
you can-
Cambridge is on there, but I did go to that tournament and it didn't cost us anything, so there are municipalities who don't charge for seniors. As
Was that a tournament or was that every single time?
every single
So-
day,
There's also free times at our tennis courts. Is it an organization that is there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
this was
But-
inside,
But we also offer a lot of free times as well, but, so part of, similar to taxes, for property taxes. You may see I don't wanna put a crazy number up there, but you know, whatever a tax increase to your residential taxes may look like a big number. And it's real money, but if you compare it to the puslinch component of your tax bill, you know, like when it's $50. But if say we're 4.2%, you know, people are like, oh, and you know, if you look at your entire tax bill, you have the county, the education input, it's a lot more money. So I mean, the analogy is 50%, but we're going from $4.21 per hour divided by 4 players per court. You know, it's a significant increase percentage wise, but is it manageable by your members, I guess is the question.
I mean, anything is manageable, it's whether you choose to play or not, right? If it's cost efficient, you would go and you would give up something else. So I pay my $50 to do whatever, that's my choice to do it. If I couldn't afford the 50, I would take it from somewhere else, it's just, it's not bad. And you're not gonna satisfy everyone anyways, as soon as you say increase, boom. Everyone, you know, he hits the ceiling, and you know, I know all about that parcel for county, cause I always complain to you about it. So. County versus.
Oh, yeah,
Postage,
sure.
we always argue about that, so I do look at that tax thing.
You are.
But at the end of the day, you're right, either we take it out of the big pot of everyone, or we charge people who use the facilities.
Well,
Right.
and that's what we're encountering is we have a subsidy from all the taxpayers because, you know, if for me. Tennis courts, soccer fields, without lights on, even with lights on, the ball diamonds. Things that where you can rent it on Sunday at 3 o'clock and now you have exclusive rights to that and call it that. We don't have to have a staff tent. So yes, there's subsidies. Everybody gets a bit of subsidy from all the taxpayers because we have to pay for the power and the heat and the hydro and the cutting the grass and all that stuff. That's not part of the equation. When we get a rental, I play basketball on Monday nights at the Orc. And we come rent it, you know, they have to have a staff member there for 3 hours, right? So then if we were, you know, paying $10 an hour, but the staffer was $30 an hour for those 2 hours we're there. You know, I don't know if that's quite appropriate for the taxpayers to subsidize my basketball. So that's kind of the direction is where is the appropriate spot to be, you know, having these discounts, and that's where the comparative municipalities come in, and this meeting and need the feedback. We have every capability to keep it as is. But I think people do need to recognize that this is being, you know, subsidized by the taxpayer. And maybe it's okay.
I don't know, I guess your engaged survey will indicate that, right? Whether they're okay with it.
So, just doing my Rain Man numbers in my head, I believe we pay about $1,800 approximately a year for the rental of the ball diamonds. So if we look at that, and it's a 40% increase in the first year, we're looking at about a $750 increase. Then it's gonna go up another 10, 12%, I guess it was. Sure. 10%, sorry, 10%. Yeah. Then with doing things like that, my logic in this is just so you understand, where I'm going, it's gonna eat into our kids. Into the kids, what they get for equipment and bats and everything else. Yeah, we do have to increase. And I understand where you're coming from with the balancing side of things and being fair to outsiders. Just, I wish there's a way that we could charge more for the outside than for our associations. And I guess that's kind of where I'm looking at things. Because it's, we're losing our fields for time. And I had this discussion last night in the rec meeting. It's a tough balancing act to get times if we grow it all as a community in the Pusslich Minor ball system. Because we need Monday to Thursday nights and those times are limited. We are trying our best to keep it all in Old Morriston, but even then we have some teams that have already grandfathered in there. So we're playing a very big balancing act right now with trying to keep space. And I think if you're gonna give it out to other communities or other ball teams that are coming in here, I personally, I would love to see if there's a way you guys can charge more for those outside teams coming in.
That's kind of.
Well, we do charge for outside teams, Mark. There's a 25% surcharge, is there not?
Yes, there is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yes, there is a surcharge on all of our rental fees at the parks, the ORC and the PCC. I believe in the past it was just at the PCC, but the Recreation and Wellness Advisory Committee recommended that it be applied to all of our facilities. And so the draft user fees and charges bylaw incorporates that 25% surcharge for all of our facilities and parks.
2026,
Correct.
so they haven't been charged it up until.
Perfect, yeah, so this is proposal to charging everybody that's not local,
Okay,
25% surcharge. On the base rate.
so that's something new that's gonna be just adding in with, is that part of this as well, or is this, okay, cool. Is that something that's negotiable to even be higher? Could it be higher? Would it scare people away from renting? Like, because I know that's the other thing that I'm sure you guys are taking into consideration too. I don't know, that's just an idea that I'm floating out there right now.
Yeah, everything's a possibility. We could go higher, but what you're not asking is if that goes higher, does the reduction to, or gotta choose your words, the reduction of the discount or the increase of your fees and we could get tangled up in.
Well, and that's what I'm, yeah, and
So,
that's,
you know, if you're charging more to those teams to then, not reduce your discount, that needs to be said.
Yeah, so for us, that's kind of one of the aim of my thought processes here, so you can charge more for the outside teams coming in and help keep ours at a lower rate. That would be, in my opinion, beneficial for the people that are paying taxes in this. Yeah,
Just through you, Mr. Chair, there won't be a 40% increase. So next year it'll be 12.5, because you go from 50% from 75% down to 62.5. Then the next year will be another 12.5% to bring you down to 50. So over the next 2 years, it'll be a 12.5% increase, not
Per year.
thank you.
per year.
So 25% increase.
For total over the 2 years, but we're going to do it incrementally, so
Yeah.
not 40.
Gotcha. But we'll get up to the 50, yeah, thanks. Sorry, I just had the breakdown right. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am. I'll just start. I haven't lost it. Okay. Is there people online in the attendee section?
Mr. No.
No. I don't. Anything further, Mark? No. Great. All right, I already asked if there's any electronic participation. The clerk is telling me there isn't anybody attending. No, okay. Does council have any clarification questions regarding this presentation? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the non-residential rates, you did a comparator of that and other municipalities, do they do similarly? And if they do, what is the rate they would charge for non-residents?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have the report right in front of me, but I believe it was 25% surcharge. So for many years, we've been doing that at the Passage Community Center, but the Recreation Wellness Committee has now suggested to council that it be on all of our facilities for non-residents.
I don't have a problem with us charging them, just curious what the other municipalities are charging. Non-residents, okay, and the Mary, during the presentation, you didn't mention whether or not there's gonna be a separate report dealing with this user fee, or is it gonna be incorporated as part of the operating budget?
Sorry, which specific user fee?
No, I'm talking about this entire report dealing with user fees. Is there gonna be a separate report dealing with this, or is it gonna be amalgamated as part of the operating budget?
Oh, yes. So typically there's another report following the public meeting, just with the final bylaw for council's approval.
Okay,
And that will likely occur, I believe it's the October 29th council meeting.
Thank you.
No problem.
Questions? Great. I declare this meeting closed. Council will take no action on this matter tonight. Staff will be reporting at a later date with a recommendation for council's consideration. If you wish to receive further notification on this matter, notify by email Mary Hassan at mhassan@puslinch.ca, by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 222. Only those persons who leave their names will be provided further notification. If you wish to speak to the matter when it is brought before council in the future, you must register as a delegation, township clerk, prior to the meeting. Thank you for coming tonight.